The doors of the royal chamber closed without a sound. No echo, no warning, just the finality of power sealing itself behind me. The alien queen stood at the far end of the hall, elevated on a dais carved from obsidian and living crystal. The architecture of her empire surrounded us. Towering arches, floating sigils of authority, and banners stitched with symbols that represented conquered star systems. The air itself felt heavy, charged, as if the room was watching me breathe. I was the only human in the chamber, unarmed, unarmored, and standing before the most feared ruler in this quadrant of the galaxy. Her eyes locked onto mine. They were not monstrous. That was the most unsettling part. They were intelligent, ancient, controlled. Human, she said, her voice calm. But beneath it was a pressure that bent the spine of lesser beings. You will answer my question. I inclined my head, not too deeply. Humans had learned that kneeling too far before alien royalty invited contempt. Yes, your majesty. A subtle movement rippled through the court. Advisors lining the walls. Generals, scientists, nobles. Watched me with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely conceal hatred. To them, I was insignificant. A fragile species representative who had somehow been summoned alone. The queen descended one step from her throne. Each step echoed now. You have spent time, she continued, within the civilian habitats of my capital. Yes. You have interacted with my people. Yes. Her gaze sharpened. And you have interacted with my daughter. The temperature in the room dropped. Not physically, but socially. Every being present understood what that word meant. Heir. Legacy. The single point of vulnerability in an otherwise invincible ruler. I said. A pause followed, long enough to make it clear it was intentional. The queen tilted her head slightly, studying my face, not searching for fear, but for truth. Then tell me, she said softly, what kind of being she is. A murmur rippled through the chamber. This was not a political question, not a strategic one. This was a mother asking through the mask of an empress. I felt it then, the weight of the moment. One careless answer could end my life. Or worse, ignite a diplomatic collapse between species. Humans were tolerated here, not trusted. I chose my words carefully. She is curious, I said, more than she lets others see. The queen's eyes narrowed just slightly. Curiosity can be weakness. Only if punished, I replied. Silence struck the room like a blade. Several advisors stiffened. One of the generals took a half step forward before stopping himself. The queen did not react immediately. Explain, she said. She asks questions others are afraid to ask. I continued. About history, about humans, about why empires rise and why they fall. The queen descended another step. She spoke to you of such things? Yes, not as a princess, as a person. That word again, person. Alien cultures did not always think in those terms. The queen's fingers tightened slightly at her side. She is guarded, the queen said, sheltered, watched every moment of her existence. You imply she seeks more. I don't imply it, I said gently. She told me. A sharp inhale echoed from somewhere behind me. The queen stopped moving. For the first time since I entered the chamber, the mask cracked. She confided in you? The queen asked. Yes. Why? Because you're never there, I almost said. Instead, I said, because I listened. The queen turned away from me, her gaze drifting toward the massive viewport behind her throne. Beyond it, her capital world stretched endlessly. Spires, transit lanes, the glow of a civilization at its peak. My daughter is destined to rule, she said. From the moment she was born, the galaxy decided what she would become. I said nothing. She must be strong, the queen continued. Unyielding, feared. That is the only way an empire survives. She turned back to me abruptly. Yet you claim she is curious. Yes. Empathetic, she pressed. Yes. Her jaw tightened. Dangerous traits, she said. For a tyrant, I replied. Not for a leader. The chamber erupted. Voices rose in alien tongues. Advisors protested. Military leaders bristled. The suggestion itself bordered on treason. The queen raised a single hand. Silence fell instantly. She approached me now, close in the distance until I could see the fine details of her face. The faint lines earned over centuries of command. The controlled fury beneath her composure. You speak boldly for a human, she said. Do you understand what you risk? Yes, I said, but you didn't summon me to flatter you. That earned me something unexpected. A faint, almost imperceptible smile. My daughter told me, the queen said slowly, that you once corrected her in public. I winced internally. Yes. She said you did not bow, did not apologize, did not even realize who she was. That's true. Why? Because she was wrong, I said, and because she asked me to be honest. The queen stared at me, long, hard. Then she asked a question that froze the blood in my veins. If my daughter were human, she said, what would you teach her to become? The room leaned in. This was no longer diplomacy. This was judgment. I met her eyes. I would teach her, I said, how to rule without losing herself. The queen's breath caught. Just for a second, enough for the entire court to see it. And in that instant, I knew I had not answered like a subject. I had answered like a father would. The queen took a step back. Her voice, when she spoke again, was no longer cold. Leave us, she commanded her court. One by one, the most powerful beings in the empire withdrew, stunned, confused, afraid. The doors sealed again. Only the queen and I remained. She looked at me, not as an empress, but as a mother. Tell me, she said quietly, what else my daughter told you. And I realized this conversation was only beginning. The silence after the doors sealed was heavier than the throne room itself. No guards, no advisors, no witnesses, just the most powerful ruler in the galaxy, and a human who had said too much to be afraid anymore. The alien queen did not return to her throne. Instead, she remained standing, hands clasped behind her back, staring out at the city beyond the viewport. The glow of her capital reflected off her armor, casting long shadows across the chamber floor. Sit, she said. It was not a command. It was a request. I sat. That alone would have caused shockwaves if anyone had been there to see it. You asked what else my daughter told me. I said carefully. The queen nodded once. She spoke of you often, the queen replied. Enough that my intelligence network noticed. That did not surprise me. Nothing said to a royal child was ever private. She speaks as if you are different, the queen continued, not impressed by her title, not intimidated by her future. I treated her like a person, I said, not an outcome. The queen's shoulders tightened. She told me, the queen said quietly, that when she asked you what humans feared most, you did not say death. No, I replied. What did you say? Becoming monsters in the name of survival. The queen turned slowly. Her eyes burned, not with rage, but recognition. My daughter said that answer disturbed her, the queen said. She said it followed her into her dreams. I hope it did. I replied softly. It means she understood it. The queen exhaled, a long, controlled breath that sounded far too human. She asked you, the queen said, whether empires must always end in blood. Yes. And your answer? That they end when leaders forget why they were built. The queen closed her eyes. Just for a moment, when she opened them again, the weight of centuries pressed forward. You speak of leadership as if it is a burden, she said. It is, I replied, if it's real. The queen stepped closer, lowering herself onto the edge of the dais rather than the throne itself. That choice mattered. My daughter believes, the queen said, that the empire's afraid of her. I said nothing. She believed they want her strong but not thoughtful, obedient but not curious. I looked at the floor, then back at her. She's right, I said. The queen did not deny it. Instead, she asked, and what did you tell her? That they are afraid because curiosity changes things, I said. And empires built on fear don't survive change. The queen laughed. It was short, bitter, almost broken. You sound like my predecessor, she said. That made me look up. You're a predecessor? The Queen's gaze hardened. My mother. The word landed heavier than any title. She ruled differently, the Queen said. She questioned generals. She listened to scientists. She sought diplomacy where others sought domination. And they killed her, the Queen said flatly. The room seemed to contract around us. A malfunction, the Queen continued. A security failure. That is how history records it. I understood now. This was not about a daughter. This was about a wound that never healed. They told me, the Queen said, that strength meant never hesitating again. She stood. So I did not. Her eyes met mine, sharp, searching. Tell me, human, she said. If I allow my daughter to become what you described, what happens to her? I swallowed. She will suffer, I said. She will doubt herself. She will be challenged. She will be hurt. The Queen's jaw clenched. But I continued, she will be herself. And the Empire will follow her. Not because they fear her, but because they believe in her. Belief is fragile, the Queen said. So is fear, I replied. But fear shatters faster. The Queen turned away again. She told you something else, the Queen said suddenly. I hesitated. She asked me. I said slowly, if humans ever regret their parents. The Queen's head snapped toward me. What did you answer? That we regret not being seen. The Queen froze. She asked, I continued, if rulers ever choose their empire over their children. The Queen's hand tightened into a fist, and I told her. I stopped. The Queen stepped closer. You told her what? She demanded. That sometimes they do, I said, and sometimes they don't realize what they've lost until it's too late. The Queen's composure cracked, just slightly. She asked me, I went on, if she was weak for wanting a different future. The Queen's voice was barely audible. What did you say? That wanting better doesn't make you weak, I said. It makes you dangerous to the wrong people. Silence roared between us. The Queen turned her back to me, shoulders rising and falling. I built this empire, she said, to protect her. And now, I asked, and now, she said, I am not certain she needs protection from others. She turned to face me. I think she needs protection from me. The words hung in the air, trembling with truth. You are not the enemy she fears, I said. You are the one she hopes will understand her. The Queen stared at me as if seeing a path she had refused to acknowledge. Then the room shuddered. A low vibration rippled through the floor. The lights dimmed. A sharp tone echoed, an alert. The Queen straightened instantly, all vulnerability snapping back into steel. Report, she commanded. A holographic interface flared to life beside her. Security breach, Royal Wing. Target, heir apparent. The Queen's eyes widened. My daughter, she whispered. Then her gaze snapped to me. You, she said. You will come with me. I'm not a soldier, I said. No, she replied. You are something far more dangerous. The doors burst open as guards rushed in. The Queen moved toward them, fury incarnate. Seal the palace, she ordered. If a single being touches my child. She stopped, turned back to me. And human? Yes. If she survives this, the Queen said, voice cold and shaking, your influence on our future will no longer be accidental. The alarm blared louder. Somewhere deep within the palace, a conspiracy had moved too early, and I realized my answer had not just changed everything. It had started a war. The palace went to war with itself. Sirens howled through corridors designed for ceremony, not combat. Floating sigils shifted from imperial gold to blood-red alert glyphs. Blast shields slammed down across balconies and skyports, sealing the capital's heart in layers of defensive geometry. The alien Queen moved like a force of nature. Not hurried, not frantic, focused. Guards fell into formation around her as she advanced through the corridor, armor locking into full combat configuration. Energy filaments traced along her gauntlets, humming with restrained devastation. I struggled to keep pace. Report, she demanded. A tactical hologram bloomed mid-stride, projecting the palace's internal layout. Multiple hostile indicators pulsed near the royal wing, inside layers that should have been impossible to breach. Internal access code were used, an officer said. No external signatures. The Queen's jaw tightened. Then this is treason, she said. The word carried death in it. We turned a corner and nearly collided with chaos. Servitors lay shattered against the walls. Ornamental guards, symbols of peace rather than defense, were down, stunned, or bleeding. The air smelled of ionized metal and fear. My daughter's chambers? The Queen asked. 2 sectors ahead. She increased her pace. Your Majesty, a general said urgently, protocol demands you fall back. Let the Praetorians. No, the Queen snapped. This threat exists because of protocol. She glanced at me. Stay behind me, she ordered. I won't, I said. She stopped abruptly. This is not a debate, human. If this is about her, I replied, then I'm already involved. Her eyes searched my face. Then she nodded once. Then do not slow me down. We advanced. As we neared the royal wing, the palace's elegance gave way to brutal efficiency. Defensive turrets had activated, but several had been destroyed from behind. Doors that required the Queen's biometric authorization lay open. Someone high-ranking wanted access. We reached the final corridor. At the far end stood 3 figures, elite Imperial operatives, armor blackened and unmarked. Not rebels, not outsiders. Imperial Shadow Guard. The Queen stopped. Her voice dropped to a whisper that could shatter planets. Stand down. The operatives did not move. One stepped forward. Your Majesty, he said, voice modulated and cold. The Council has enacted the continuity mandate. I felt the Queen stiffen. That mandate was abolished, she said. Reinstated, the operative replied. Moments ago. The Queen laughed. Slowly, dangerously. You would remove my daughter under my roof? She asked. For the Empire, the operative said. She has been compromised. The Queen's gaze flicked to me, then back to them. You mean influenced, she said. The operative did not deny it. She is changing, he said, as your mother once tried to change things. Silence fell. Then the Queen spoke with terrifying calm. You will step aside, she said, or you will die. The operative raised his weapon, and that was when the doors behind him opened. The princess stepped into the corridor. She was younger than I remembered seeing her last. No ceremonial armor, no royal regalia, just simple attire and eyes wide with realization. Mother, she said. The Queen's composure shattered. Behind me, the Queen commanded instantly, but the princess was already looking at the Shadow Guard. You were supposed to protect me, she said. The operative hesitated. Just long enough. The Queen moved. Energy erupted from her gauntlet in a controlled arc, slamming the operative into the far wall. The remaining 2 reacted instantly, one firing, the other charging. I grabbed the princess. Run, I said. She looked at me, then nodded. We sprinted. Behind us, the corridor became a storm of violence. The Queen fought with terrifying precision, each movement lethal, each strike restrained only by proximity to her child. We ducked into a side passage as an explosion rocked the hall. The princess stumbled. I knew, she said breathlessly. I knew they were watching me. I guided her forward. They're afraid of you, I said. That's never a mistake. They said you were dangerous, she whispered. I smiled grimly. They weren't wrong. We reached a sealed blast door. Locked. The princess stepped forward and placed her hand on the panel. It didn't respond. She frowned. I don't have clearance, she said. They restricted it. I pulled her back just as the wall beside us disintegrated. The Queen emerged through smoke and fire, eyes blazing. Are you hurt? She demanded. The princess shook her head. They tried to take me, she said. They said I wasn't safe. The Queen knelt before her daughter. They were right about one thing, she said softly. You are not safe. She looked up at me. They are moving early, she said. which means the conspiracy is larger than I feared. The princess looked between us. This is because of me, she said. No, I said, this is because of what you represent. The queen stood. We leave the palace, she said. Now. But the throne, the princess began, is irrelevant, the queen said. That sentence changed history. We moved fast through maintenance corridors, emergency lifts, forgotten routes only the queen knew. Outside, the capital burned with confusion as factions mobilized. A secure transport awaited. As we boarded, the queen turned to me. They tried to kill my mother, she said. I became what they wanted so it would never happen again. She looked at her daughter. And now they want to do the same to her. The transport lifted off. Below us, the palace shrank into the distance. You were right, the queen said quietly. Fear does not preserve empires. She met my eyes. It poisons them. A notification flared across the console. Imperial Council declares region authority. Queen designated unstable. Heir to be removed. The princess went pale. They're calling you unstable, she said. The queen smiled. Cold. Certain. Good, she said. That means they're afraid. She turned to me. You gave my daughter a voice, she said. Now you will help me protect it. I swallowed. What are you planning? The queen looked back at the stars. A reckoning, she said, and I realized the empire was about to learn the difference between control and loyalty. The stars did not care about empires. They never had. They burned with the same indifference they always had. Ancient, distant, uncaring, while civilizations rose and fell beneath their light. As the royal transport cut through hyperspace, silence filled the cabin like a hell breath. The alien queen stood at the viewport, arms folded behind her back. The princess sat across from me, knees drawn close, her reflection trembling in the glass. She looked smaller now, not weak but exposed. The illusion of inevitability had been stripped from her in a single night. Where are we going? She asked quietly. The queen answered without turning. To the one place they cannot rewrite, she said. The beginning. Hyperspace collapsed. Stars snapped back into place, and before us hung an enormous structure, ancient, orbital, and unmistakably old. The founding world. The birthplace of the empire. The transport docked without resistance. No alarms. No interception. They still thought this was a retreat. Inside, the halls were austere, stone and metal fused with philosophy rather than intimidation. Murals lined the walls, depicting leaders standing among their people, not above them. The princess slowed as she walked, eyes tracing figures that looked nothing like the empire she had grown up in. They don't look afraid, she said. No, I replied. They look trusted. The queen stopped before a massive sealed chamber. The council believes power flows downward, she said, from throne to subject. She placed her hand on the ancient door. They forgot it flows upward first. The chamber opened. Inside waited the founder's conclave hall, a place abandoned for centuries. At its center stood a ring of dormant obelisks, each representing a founding system of the empire. The queen stepped into the circle, and the room came alive. Light surged through the obelisks, reacting not to rank, but to bloodline and intent. Holographic figures shimmered into existence, echoes of rulers long dead. The princess gasped. They're alive? Recorded, the queen said, to advise, to judge, to remember what power is for. The first hologram spoke. Why have you returned? The queen straightened. Because my empire has forgotten itself, she said, and because they seek to silence the future. The hologram shifted. The continuity mandate has been invoked, one said. The heir is deemed unstable, said another. The princess flinched. The queen did not. She is not unstable, the queen said. She is awake. A pause. Then, and the human? Every projection turned toward me. I felt the weight of history pressed down. This is the one who changed her, a voice said. An anomaly, another observed. A risk, said a third. The queen turned fully toward me. Speak, she said. Answer them as you answer me. I swallowed. Then I stepped into the circle. I didn't change her, I said. I just didn't lie to her. The hologram studied me. Your empire fears her because she asks questions, I continued. Questions every civilization eventually has to face. One hologram leaned forward. And what would you have her become? I looked at the princess. Then at the queen. Someone who remembers that power exists to protect people. I said, not to outlive them. Silence followed. Deep, evaluating. Then the oldest hologram spoke. That was the original doctrine. The queen closed her eyes. They murdered my mother for believing that, she said. No, the hologram replied. They murdered her for reminding them. The obelisk's pulsed brighter. Outside the founding world, hyperspace signatures flared. The council had arrived. Warships surrounded the station. Hundreds of them. Inside the chamber, alarms finally screamed. They're here, the princess whispered. The queen opened her eyes. Calm had replaced fury. Good, she said. She knelt before her daughter. Listen to me, the queen said softly. They will try to break you, to frighten you, to convince you that compassion is weakness. She took her daughter's hands. It is not. The princess nodded, tears burning but unfallen. The queen stood and faced the holograms. I invoke the founder's right, she declared. Judgment by witness. The holograms turned toward me. Human, they said in unison. Will you stand as witness? I hesitated only a second. Yes. The chamber broadcast activated. Across the empire, on warships, in council chambers, in civilian habitats. The image appeared. The queen, the princess, and a human standing beside them. The council leader appeared on screen, furious. You are finished, he snarled. Step aside and surrender the air. The queen did something no ruler had done in centuries. She stepped back and placed her daughter forward. Speak, the queen said. The princess trembled. Then she lifted her head. You taught me to be strong, she said to the council. But you never taught me why. She looked at the people watching. I don't want an empire built on fear, she said. I want one worth inheriting. The council leader laughed. You are naive. The princess looked at me. I nodded once. She turned back. Maybe, she said, but I would rather fail trying to protect my people than succeed ruling over their silence. The founder's obelisk flared. Judgment rendered. The holograms declared. The air stands. Across the fleet, systems locked. Council command codes were overridden. The warships powered down. The broadcast ended. The queen exhaled a breath she had been holding for decades. She turned to me. You asked me once what kind of being my daughter is, she said. I smiled. She's a leader. The queen nodded. And you, she said, are now something very inconvenient to the galaxy. The princess laughed softly. Does that mean he stays? The queen placed a hand on my shoulder. Yes, she said. It does. Later, much later, when the empire began to rebuild, historians would argue about what changed everything. Some would say it was the founders. Others would say it was a failed coup. They would be wrong. It was a question, an answer given without fear. Because sometimes humanity doesn't win by being stronger. Sometimes we win by reminding giants who they were supposed to be